Blurred Lines of Deception by Creepy Clown Girl and Timothy Duran. This path that I have chosen is the path of the Lord. No evil shall walk this path, nor see it, for the Lord has guarded it with the golden gates of heaven. Beyond these golden gates of heaven lies a world filled with love, peace and happiness, a world in which no evil shall enter, for the Lord has guarded it with the golden gates of heaven. That is until last night, when I dreamed I died and went to heaven. Standing on elegant tiles of marble, I stood outside those pearly gates and awaited an angel to arrive. But when one did not come, I pushed open the gates, and the terror that befell my eyes was ghastly beyond sight. The sulphuric smell that erupted from the volcanoes that encircled the landscape permeated the air. The mournful pleas and cries of the condemned from centuries past until now were nearly piercing to the ears. The sight of tortured souls and the damned, as they faced off in their greatest punishments, littered the landscape. What I had assumed to be the gates of heaven turned out to appear more like the writings of the late Dante and his tale of eternal infernos and damnation. This was not heaven. It couldn't be. What I was witnessing right before my eyes didn't look anything like the lands of milk and honey that were promised to me in church by prophets of the late and ancient Abraham. Where were the Lord's plentiful bounties? Where were the streets of gold? Where were the angels that served at the hands of the Lord? This path that I now walk leads me to what I can only assume to be hell. There is nothing around me that I could see that would indicate that this was the land that the Lord called his domain. There were such hellish creatures all around me. But what I found strange was how what I originally thought were the angels of heaven seemed to be down here along with horrific beings. Human-like creatures with wings all across their bodies were commanding that these creatures do the bidding of the Lord. Other creatures with the heads of felines and oxen would lash out at those who were slacking. And above all this landscape were what appeared to be two rotating golden hoops with eyes all across them, emanating a dark cloud and lights that were pitch black, almost as if they were darker than darkness itself. Fear itself would feed upon the damned and condemned as the earth drove out the wicked en masse and in malice. Upon a pitch black throne, I witnessed a being in a cloak holding up a blood-red chalice. From here I heard a thunderous voice yell with such delightful glee. He would say, "Hey, hey, my fellow friends, upon earth you had laughed at me as I sat here, as you would commit your acts of degeneracy. Hear from me as I sip with glee, and partake from the blood that I take from thee." The creatures all let out a sick set of laughs, some of them clapping with delight. My soul began to race. At every turn was another one of these accursed beings. They were all around me, in every direction, at every corner, posted above every structure. They stared down at me, like a lion readying itself for a meal. Feeling helpless and in despair, I looked for a way to escape, my heart pounding faster than I had ever experienced. With one last glance, I saw my chance, and I took it. I ran back towards the gates and thrust myself through before the beings were able to close them. I had no choice but to run and evade a fate far worse than those who were condemned. As I ran to the steps, I fell through the clouds and began a descent towards a dark bottom. And when I felt my mind hit the bottom, my body rose out of the bed, awake. This path that I have chosen is the path of the devil. No good shall walk this path, nor see it, for the devil has guarded it with the gates of hell. Beyond these gates of hell lies a world filled with darkness, hatred, and despair, a world in which no good may enter it, for the devil has guarded it with the gates of hell. Or so I thought. That is until last night, when I dreamed I died and went to hell. Standing on cobblestones covered in burnt ash, I awaited the arrival of a fallen angel. But when one did not come, I pushed open the gates and was met with sights of wondrous beauty and elegance. Standing there, I thought to myself, this is not hell, but where am I, and where have I arrived? I cautiously made my way past Eden's gate towards heaven, where I was greeted with sights of flowing honey streams, trees with golden apples, and angels flying with white satin gowns, carrying and playing instruments of which I had never heard the likes of before. My mind was almost entranced by the beauty that I was paying witness to. My life up until this point was not worthy of such grandeur, nor should I partake of such great treasures, and yet my soul compelled me to do so. I reached for a golden apple from one of the trees, and heard a thunderous laugh that almost warmed my heart and filled me with immense amounts of joy. From above a beautiful castle waved the arms of a figure from earthly religion that I could only describe as God. I heard his voice travel to my ears and fill me with a sense of happiness that only my true family could provide. Ha ha! My fellow friends, upon earth you worshipped me and paid respect to that who created blessings that filled your soul with glee. Here, a golden chalice shall you partake a sip with me. I did not consider myself worthy. My Lord, I do not consider myself worthy of thee. While I am truly blessed for your offer, am I truly free? My child, please rise from your knees and come and sit with me. I have a story to be told unto you, if your ears shall listen. With silence, I stand and move to sit beside the Lord, and in silent prayer, he begins to speak. My child, you say to me that you are not worthy to be here. Yet for every sin that you committed, I witnessed you shed a tear. You knew of where you belonged, and with me is where you no longer need to be strong. So if you must shed your tears upon my floor, for there is no judgment here, let them pour. I felt a wave of relief and tears wash over me as I sat in the grace of God. No longer did I fear my sins and burdens. My child, consider yourself free. You will now awake your life anew. Now go forth and live your life as you should." The Lord clapped his hands, and from his grace I was awake. In my bed I found several white feathers that looked like they came from an angel's wings. With a life anew, I started my path as the Lord intended for me to do. Thinking by Jar 19. At times I find myself alone, and in those blessed occasions, I'm able to collect my thoughts without any ill dissuasions. They start off with my life so far, and how the years have passed. There was a time they moved so slow, now it all goes by so fast. Day by day, week on week, the years seem in a hurry, yet I'm at a stage, at least right now, I'm not in too much worry. I move on to my social life, if I can be accused of such a thing. The last time an invitation came, George VI was still the king. Shifting to my family, my greatest pride and joy, there's a thought that brings a smile to the face of this old boy. These weird and wonderful relations truly are the greatest wealth, though my accountant disagrees since I made most of them myself. I'd like it to expand someday. I think that would be grand. Find a Mrs. Jar 19 and side by side we'd stand. Have some children of our own, feel pride in all we do. We can make them out of flesh or metal or mutagenic goo. But such things will have to wait, for a man has work to finish, and I fear I've only several centuries before this old brain does diminish. Yes, it's planning for the future that I enjoy the most, and the great success that lies ahead, to which I'd raise a toast. After all the petty squabbles from the governments of the world have caused a global meltdown and all's become unfurled, those once brave and intelligent who believe themselves my betters will be cast down into the dirt like long unpaying debtors. They'll gaze up through tender eyes, and while belief may still be sparse, within a giant Titan mech suit, they'll see a brain inside some glass. I'll send out all my monsters to sweep across the lands, and ensure there's not a single place beyond the reach of metal hands. As the sun shines high above us, they'll get the perfect view of all the smashing plans I have now finally coming true. They'll hope the night will bring some peace to shield them from what's real. A little hope in all that terror is what they'll probably feel. But as the moon does rise ahead and they crane their heads to see, they'll notice it's been painted pink and looks remarkably like me. Mechanized great cities will be the safe spots on the map. Some humans are welcome here, of course. I'm really a nice chap. It'll all be great, I tell you, and I hope that you're excited, 'cause I'll let you in on something fun. You're secretly invited. The lengths I'll surely go to, the depths that it's all sinking. It must be worth the sacrifice. Or so I'm often thinking. Good day, I'm Jar 19 and thank you for listening. Well, here we are again with our second Horror Family Poems video. A big thank you to Creepy Clown Girl and Timothy Duran for sending me their wonderful poem. It was such a smashing surprise, and I couldn't wait to archive it into this online collection of poetic works from around our community. It's such a great pleasure to read such creative works, and I hope you felt inspired, as I certainly have, to try your hand at some poetry too. Who knows, maybe we could get it into our next Horror Family Poems. I'd certainly love to see this series grow. So, Whether you're an amazing artist, a daring dancer, a fantastic filmmaker, a marvelous musician, a passionate performer, a sensational singer, a vivacious vocalist, or a wonderful writer, remember, have confidence in your work and never stop creating.